Have you ever found yourself being led somewhere you didn't really mean to go? Not because someone forced you, but because of some simple, nagging craving? Well, today, we're going to dive into an ancient Buddhist story, the Vattamika Jataka. It's this incredible tale about how one of our most basic desires, the craving for taste, can actually become a kind of invisible trap. So, let's unpack this idea together.
So our story doesn't start in some far-off distant past. Nope. It begins right in the middle of the Buddha's lifetime. And we're kicking things off with a really baffling event, something that had an entire community of monks just scratching their heads.
And this is really the central mystery we're going to solve today. I mean, just imagine someone who's famous for their self-control, for their dedication, and then one day, they just give it all up. What in the world could have that much power over a person?
Okay, so let's meet our main character, Venerable Tissa. Now, this guy came from a rich family, but he chose to leave it all behind for the spiritual life. And he was so disciplined, so good at his practice of collecting alms, that he even got a special name for it. His reputation was, well, it was like the full moon in the sky. Everybody knew him. But back home, his parents were absolutely heartbroken. They'd hold on to his old stuff during festivals, just missing their only son.
And this is where the plot thickens. Stepping into this family's grief isn't some powerful figure, it's a servant girl named Vanadasi. Seeing how sad the parents are, she makes this incredibly bold promise. She says, just put me in charge of the household, and I promise you, I will bring your son back.
So what's her grand plan? It's not force, it's not arguments. Her strategy is much, much more subtle. It's all about flavor. She moves to the same city as Tirsa, figures out his daily route for collecting food, and starts offering him meals. But we're not talking about just any food. We're talking exceptionally delicious, perfectly prepared dishes day in and day out.
And this, right here, is the absolute core of our story. At first, it's probably just a really nice meal. But day after day, that nice meal turns into a preference. And that preference slowly, almost silently, hardens into a full-blown craving. Venerable Tissa, the famous disciplined monk, was getting hooked. He started looking forward to the taste of her food more than anything.
And this is it. This is the moment the trap springs shut. Once Vanadasi knows the monk is completely attached to her food, she kicks off the final part of her plan. When Tissa shows up one day, she has her attendants tell him she's sick and wants to see him. And because he's so bound by his craving for her food, he does something he's not supposed to do. He breaks his monastic rule and goes inside her home.
And just like that, it was all over. Once he was inside, she revealed what she was really after. And he, completely overpowered by this attachment that she had so carefully built in him, well, he gave up everything. His robes, his vows, his entire spiritual path. She had brought him home exactly like she said she would.
You can imagine the other monks were in total shock. How could this possibly happen to someone like Tissa? They all got together to talk about it. And when the Buddha joined them, he explained that actually, this wasn't the first time. To help them really get it, he told them a story from long, long ago.
And with these words, the Buddha basically hits the rewind button. He's about to take his monks, and us, back in time to a whole other life, to show them that this vulnerability to the craving for taste, well, it's a very old story.
So our journey is taking us to the ancient kingdom of Varanasi. Now the characters look different, but as you're about to see, the theme is exactly the same. We've got a king, his gardener, and a very, very shy antelope that everyone thought was impossible to catch.
So get this, in this past life, our monk Tissa, he was a wild antelope. And not just any antelope, this one was incredibly shy. It would bolt at the slightest sign of a person. And the servant girl Vanadasi? Well, in this life, she was a royal gardener named Sanjaya. The king sees this beautiful animal and asks Sanjaya, "Hey, can you catch it?" And Sanjaya says, "Yep, no problem." His secret weapon? A little bit of honey.
And the gardener's plan is going to sound awfully familiar. It's a masterclass in patience. See, he doesn't chase the antelope, he attracts it. First, he just smears some honey on the grass. Once the antelope gets a taste for it, he starts to slowly, day by day, get a little closer, building trust. Eventually, the animal's craving for that sweet honey completely overrides its natural fear, and it's eating right out of his hand.
And here is the absolute key to the whole thing. Sanjaya never needed a rope. He never needed a cage. That antelope was already captured. It was tied to him by an invisible chain, one that was forged from its own desire for that sweet taste. And it followed him willingly,
step by step, right out of the safety of its home.
So the gardener leads the antelope all the way into the courtyard of the royal palace. The plan worked like a charm. But the story doesn't end here with the capture. No, it ends with the lesson.
Imagine that moment. The palace gates slam shut, and suddenly reality crashes down on the antelope. The sweet honey is gone, and all that's left is the terrifying presence of all these people. The poor animal is overcome with fear and starts running around frantically, realizing way too late that its own craving led it straight into a trap.
Seeing this terrified animal, the king, who remember, is the Bodhisattva, the Buddha in a past life, he just perfectly delivers the wisdom at the heart of this whole story. He explains that this craving for taste is a really dangerous thing, maybe even more powerful than being attached to your own home or your friends. It's this primal drive that can lead even the most careful creatures right into disaster. And after teaching this lesson, the compassionate king ordered the antelope to be set free.
All right, and now the Buddha brings the story full circle. He connects all the dots for his completely amazed monks. This is the moment where these two different stories click together to become one single, profound lesson.
So the Buddha lays it all out. That patient gardener, Sanjaya, that was the same person as the clever servant girl, Vandadasi. The timid antelope trapped by its love of honey, that was none other than Venerable Tissa. And of course, the wise king who saw the danger in it all, that was the Buddha himself. It's the exact same pattern, just playing out in different lifetimes. So, after hearing these two amazing parallel stories, what's the big takeaway for us? I mean, how does a story about a monk and an antelope have anything to do with our lives today?
While the lesson is incredibly relevant, that taste in the story, it isn't just about food, is it? It can be a craving for literally anything that pleases our senses. Think about it, the taste of getting likes on social media, the addictive flavor of a show we binge watch, or just the comfort of a habit we can't shake. This story shows us how these cravings build up so slowly, so quietly, that they can end up leading us somewhere we never wanted to be. And the antidote? It's mindfulness. It's paying attention to these little attachments before they become those big, unbreakable chains. So, I'll just leave you with this final question to think about. What are the little bits of honey in your own life? The subtle cravings that might be pulling you, step by step, in a direction you haven't really consciously chosen? It's definitely a powerful question to ask yourself. And that wraps up our journey into the Vaishamika Jataka. As we finish, I'll leave you with a simple and warm wish that comes from the tradition itself. May you all be happy.